Does your run defense suck? Well, watch this tutorial to actually break down methods to go ahead and shut down the run and get your opponent in third and long situations. Coming up next. Hey, this is Full Game Prometheus, the only YouTuber that gives you full games of all the tips and schemes I post on my channel. I'll show you the good, the bad, and the ugly. Alright, so guys, if you're new to my channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Also, that notification icon so you can never miss an upload. Alright, so guys, I want to talk about defensive strategies. This is something I've broken down before, but I'm going to go ahead and break it down again for you noobs or people who just want to get a little bit better. This is going to be a complex breakdown of methods and strategies to be more effective with the run game. All right, so I'm going to actually show some kind of beginner level type of stuff initially, and I'm going to get into more progressively more complex stuff that programmers use, tournament players use, and really advanced players use a little bit later on. So if you want to, I'm gonna, in the notes section, I'm going to actually show you hyperlinks and time marks where you can jump around with this. And if you are struggling on defenses, in particular with the run, make sure you go ahead and save this to your view later feature in YouTube, so you can access this in the future just in case you forget certain tips. And I will assure you that not every Madden player utilizes every single skill set or every different technique to shut down the run, because I ran into a certain situation where there were certain things I wasn't doing against an opponent that was very run focused, and I missed these type of tips. First and foremost, let's talk about basically matching up your defenses. Really what happens is if you got an opponent that's running a lot of heavy sets where he's got 2 tight ends or 1 tight end and 2 wide receivers, you should be matching up with him accordingly. So you want to use a 3-4 or 4 or a basically a 43 or 44. If he's running offensive sets out of like perhaps he's doing runs out of the like a 3 wide receiver set or 4 wide receiver set, then obviously you can match up with the defenses. But right now we're going to go ahead and focus on someone that's very run orientated and is using heavier sets. So let's go ahead and just jump into 34 defenses. And I'm going to show you basically different types of coverages that you can utilize in this game to work with. I can tell you the first thing, the most important thing when it comes to playing run defense is that you want to actually go ahead and use a player that's more likely not to be blocked by a defender. So a lot of the I don't know, just the rookie players will use a defensive end. Maybe in a passing situation, you'll use a defensive end or basically a defensive tackle. But most of the better players in Madden, you'll see a lot of the pro players, they're going to use an inside linebacker or a free safety. Now, I'll tell you this much, inside linebacker sometimes gets sucked down into blocks or can get sucked down into blocks. So it's better to use a free safety if you want to go ahead and effectively use take away the run from your opponent. So either a strong safety or free safety. And the primary reason is that these guys don't really have any kind of run fit responsibility. And I'll explain that a little bit differently. But the reason why is that this free safety will be clear to go ahead and attack the run, and you can come down and do that. So I've been using free safeties as my primary man on defense for the longest time, and I do that because it makes my run defense a lot more effective, because I've got a free safety that's not going to have any kind of a blocking assignment, and I can get out and kind of react to the direction that the opponent is going to go ahead and run with the ball. So right here, a little slash right there, and basically I'll be there to clean up the run. So that is probably the most important thing, is just making sure that you're using players that are not likely to get attacked. If you got a guy that does a lot of stretch plays or comeback plays, you can use a corner, but most of the top Madden players do not use defensive backs on the sidelines. They're going to use a free safety, a strong safety, or middle linebackers to stop the run. So as you can see, I'm outside to go ahead and contain with the pitch and actually go ahead and try to bottle up that run. Now, the next thing we want to talk about is basically a feature that's been in the game for a long time, which is run committing. So you're going to hold your left trigger button or L2 button, and if you take a look where it says guest play, you can go ahead and run right run left, and run down the middle. Now, if you run down the middle, what happens is it basically commits all your guys to actually go ahead and go into the gap and try to go ahead and attack. They're actually going to go ahead and jump in there, and that's actually a really good play to go and jump into if you got an opponent that actually runs is essentially running a lot of like dives or stuff like that. You can go ahead and commit by hitting that left trigger and then flicking down to the right stick where it says run middle. Now, if you got an opponent that's running off to the sidelines, either running off to the right or left, you can go ahead and run commit either off to the right or left. So we're going to run commit off to the left and see if we actually guess right. And I wanted to show you the animation so you can see what happens. So if you watch the defense, I've committed off to the left, and if you notice, this defender actually goes ahead and he's shooting off to the left with the assumption that he's going to do that, and this guy's penetrating. So they're anticipating the run off to the left-hand side, and they want to go ahead and contain that. So you can see he actually just whiffs right past the defender, and this guy actually comes biting in too. And we're going to run commit off to the right with the hope that we can actually go ahead and stop that run. And as you can see right there, my defenders are in the area to go ahead and clean it up. So that's just another feature that you can utilize to go ahead and utilize against the run. The good news is that it doesn't seem like it really overcommits like previous Madden, so you probably want to go ahead and consider leveraging the run commit in your run defense for Madden 19, because it doesn't seem to be as overcommitting as previous Maddens. Now let's talk about run fits. When it comes to run fits, really what it is that you need to understand is that deep blues, in particular deep halves and deep thirds, do not play the run. So you're going to have 8 guys down in the box right now. These guys right here in the box are going to play the run, but these defensive backs won't. And I want to show this to you because it's important that if you're running cover 3 as one of your coverages, you have to understand it's actually weak against the run. So right here, we get pretty good penetration, but I want to show you, if you look at these defenders, this guy right here actually backs off the line of scrimmage. This defender actually backs off a little bit too. You got this guy backs off, and you got this defender actually backs off. So you don't have any guys that are really penetrating. I don't even know why this defender actually got stupid over here. That's got to be some kind of a glitch. He should be playing a run fit, and he should be coming out. So there's some kind of a glitch in the system. But as you can see right here, I'm still able to get penetration against this defensive line. But I was really only sending 7 guys, and without having these extra guys playing run fits, it's actually going to limit your defense. So what a lot of guys would do is actually would run a popular defense at the beginning of the season, which was cover 4. And the reason why cover 4 is that it's a little more stout of a defense than previous Maddens, because the inside safeties, Lott and Dawkins, these guys play run fits and actually will attack the ball if your opponent tries to run it. So you want to watch these safeties when you're playing cover 3. Look how they just attack right away. Attack right away. This guy is still a little bit flat-footed, and then it comes out. And this guy, actually, what happens with him, he backs up a couple steps and waits. And actually backs up into pass coverage because there's a route coming his way, because that's his primary responsibility, is to go ahead and run is defend a wide receiver route. But you have to understand that your safeties are actually going to come down. So if you have a guy that's running a very intensive running, you can jump into a cover 4 defense and actually go ahead and get those safeties down in the box and use that middle linebacker to go ahead and attack that inside run, those runs to actually get your defenders in position to make a play for you. Now, a very common play that gets used a lot in run games could be a stretch play, and they can be very hard to stop if you got a guy that has patience and actually can find the holes, and especially with some of the new running features, it can be very, very frustrating to stop. And what's going to happen is that you're usually going to get a lot of contain, or you're going to get a nice blocking against a cover 3 type coverage. So as you can see right here, this defender actually falls back and doesn't attack the run, allowing this wide receiver to go up and actually get a nice good block against him. So one of the things to go ahead and stop outside runs is just change up your defense to a cover 2 shell. Now what's going to happen is that wide receiver is actually not going to get, he's not going to be able to get the penetration or actually open up the lane, and this is going to put a player in a position to go ahead and seal things up. So because he's down in the box and he's not giving that open lane, he's going to force your running back to make a choice. Is he going to run it to the outside or run it to the inside? And that's where you just keep carrying him to the sideline so you can bottle it up. Now, the one thing about cover 2 is that these two guys are in deep halves, so they're going to fall back from the play, and this guy's going to fall back from the play until he starts. So you notice he falls back about 5 or 6 yards before he starts biting on the run. So it's imperative that you make sure that when you are doing run support out of cover 2, that you're conscious of these guys running these type of deep halves, and they're not going to be in run support. And what you can do is obviously go ahead and take that backside linebacker and actually go and carry him to the sideline. And if he actually cuts it in, he might fall right into this safety. So it's not a bad thing to do if you over pursue. Now a lot of people like to use roll with a cover 1 hole defense. And actually this is a fairly effective defense against the run, because you basically have everybody in a run fit except for a free safety. And they're going to be in position to go ahead and stop the run for you with that cover 1 hole. So as you can see, the guys are actually in a position. However, the biggest liability with a cover 1 hole defense is that obviously you've got a lot of man-to-man coverage. So if you don't really have a stacked man defense that matches up good man-to-man coverage, this defense might actually be a liability for you, at least from the pass coverage. But if you're really struggling with actually stopping a guy running the ball, just go ahead and jump into a cover 1 hole and use that free safety, and for the most part he should be able to be in position right there to go ahead and stop the run. So even though I didn't make a tackle, you could see I was able to go ahead and stop his run for a big gainer. Now one thing I do want to point out to you is the liability that certain defenses have against the run. You can see here some popular defenses that get used online: cover 4 drop show 2 and the cover 3 buzz stop. Now if you take a look at the defensive tackles that are rushing in, both of these guys actually have like kind of a looping type play art. That means they're in contains. Now contains actually are not really effective methods to go ahead and use against your opponent if you're running the ball. And the primary reason is that if you do that, they don't necessarily play really good run fits, and they're actually susceptible to getting better push off the line. So let me show you how basically a cover 2 contain, or a cover 3 buzz drop, it actually can get yourself in some serious trouble, in particular against runs such as a draw play. So with these contains, what happens is that they actually play like a kind of a mush rush, leaving only one guy that actually can go ahead and play that ball. So if you got an opponent that is using this defense against you, I would recommend going into draw plays to get them out of those draw plays as quick, or get them out of that defense as quickly as possible. And that's going to definitely open up your scheme a little bit, because you can see this offensive line is just dominating the guys at the front center. So let's go ahead and just jump into a different defense, which is basically the cover 3. And you're going to watch, there's going to be a significant difference on the way this run works. There's going to be a couple more guys in the area, because you've got basically some guys, as you can see, the lane was a little bit tighter there than the previous lane because of that mush rush. So one of the things you really want to try to stay away from is using contains in your run defense, because contains actually pull guys off, and they place like a pseudo pass coverage, more or less. So they're actually looking for the outside run. And if you go ahead and click on contains, they're going to be more liable to actually give up some big runs. So I just want to give you a little heads up about that. Now, an adjustment that you can do which is really geared towards the QB option, the option plays. Those option plays were very popular about 5 years ago with Madden, and a lot of it's cycled out because the NFL doesn't use it. But what you can do is you can option the running back, and what happens is that when you option the running back, the players just play a little bit tighter on the running back. They're very more conscious of the running back than they aren't. And you can see right there, they're actually looking for that running back. So just a real minor adjustment that you can do to make your running games a little better is just to go ahead and get away from the contains and actually go ahead and option the running back. You have to option the running back by actually hitting your left trigger or your L2 button, and you see the square button. You're going to go ahead and hit that. And what's going to happen is now the defensive line is going to be conscious of the running back and try to stop that running back. Be a little bit more conscious about it against the run. So you can see right there, he's actually in that spot. Now, a very annoying little scheme that players will use against you is going to be like a fullback dive, fullback fake halfback flip. This could be very annoying, in particular the fullback fake halfback flip. And the reason why is that generally you will catch your opponents out of position. So if you want to go and stop that, basically what you're going to do is you're going to go and hit option running back. You're going to hit the left trigger, and you're going to go ahead and hit the square button where it says option running back, and that actually should go ahead and get a guy that's going to be conscious of that pitch play and go ahead and blow it up in the backfield. So using the option features is another way to go and stout to make your running back, your running defense a little bit more stout. All right, so the next thing I want to talk about is defensive stacking. And this is an effective way to go ahead and make your defense a little bit more stout against the run and allow your defenders to actually go ahead and break and get through gaps and holes and attack your opponent a little bit deeper into the field. So let's just go ahead and basically what we want to do is we want to go ahead and get our defenders in a situation where they're stacked on the top of each other, and they just get a little bit more penetration against the run. So let me kind of give you an example how this works. So what's going to happen is you want to go ahead and get your defenders in a position where they're actually stacked right over each other. So this will actually help you significantly with your defense because it's going to be hard for the offensive line to identify their responsibilities and allow one of your guys to actually penetrate. You can see right here, I've got this defender right here. Right, they're stacked on the top of each other. I've got this defender right here stacked right on top of each other, and I've got this defender here stacked right on top of each other. So what that does is it tells the offensive lines that they have to decide who they want to block. Do they want to block this tackle right here, or if they want to go ahead and attack this? It messes up their blocking assignment. We've got the same situation with these two offensive linemen. They've got these two guys that they got to figure out blocking assignments. Now you've got this defensive tight end, or you've got this offensive tight end and this tackle. They're trying to figure out who they're going to block. So a lot of times what's going to happen is their blocking assignments are going to get mixed up. And because we're using these guys, we got these guys are actually in a situation where you can see they double team this guy. This linebacker's got a free shot. He's going to be able to come in. They double team of this guy. This guy actually comes up. As you can see, these two linebackers are shooting in. I've got this edge guy right here. So the blocking assignments are just messed up for the offensive line because of stacking. This is a common technique that pro players use on the circuit in tournaments, and it's a good way to go ahead and just make your defense a little bit better and more stout against the run. So if you stack these guys, they're going to be a little bit it's going to be a little bit harder for the offensive line to go ahead and see how they're going to go and stop it. So it's something you want to go ahead and utilize in your system is stacking, and will make your defense a lot more stout. Now, the last thing we want to talk about is hybrid coverages, and these are methods to go ahead and make your defense a little bit more stout against an opponent that's running a lot of runs against you. Now, something you can actually do to make your defenses more stout is make adjustments on your players that do not have run fits. So if you take a look at these guys in a deep blue, they're not in run fits. They're going to have no run fits responsibility. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and create a run fit for them. So we're going to earn this cover 3. And another way to go ahead and do a run fit is actually go ahead and put this guy in a man coverage. And we're going to put this guy in a man coverage against this outside guy. So I'm going to user this player Dawkins, and you're going to watch that these defenders are going to attack the ball a little bit more aggressively than if they were actually not in a run fit. So you can see Deion Sanders actually comes down and actually attacks the ball immediately once the ball actually gets handed off. So watch Deion Sanders. He comes attacking immediately. He takes a split second and then attacks. This guy is actually getting carried by this wide receiver, but he's going to attack a lot quicker. And I've got basically 10 guys playing the run fits, and that's going to put me in a situation to stop that run a little bit quicker. Now, another thing that you can do too is that you've got your cloud flats that are in run fits. Another adjustment you can do is go ahead and take your safeties and man them up with the outside wide receivers. They've got passing responsibilities, but now they're actually going to be in run fits because they've got man responsibilities. So you can see they actually attack the run a lot more aggressively. Now it looks like I missed my hole, but I want to show you how quickly these guys attack when you man up these safeties. These guys manned up against these outside wide receivers, so they should not be shooting inside. But look what happens on this particular play. They come shooting in right into the inside to go ahead and take away these plays. Now, what's the purpose of actually having these safeties manned up against these guys? Well, their responsibility is to go ahead and take away the deep pass, so that's their responsibility on coverage. So this is a good defense to go ahead and run against your opponent. If he's running a lot of balls, you can actually get all 9 guys, all 11 guys in a run fit. So let's just go ahead and run into that. So once again, we've got run fits on the outside receivers. As you can see, those safeties come biting in. But what happens if you just leave them? You leave them in their regular coverages. They don't make any kind of a move whatsoever on that defense. So these same guys that earlier were biting on the ball, they start backing off and paying coverage. So another good way to go ahead and slow your opponent down is actually go ahead and run basically a cover 2 coverage, and then put these guys against the outside receivers, and they're actually going to go ahead and attack the ball more frequently. So once again, we got these guys lined up, and it's a draw play, but we got that safety that actually comes down and makes a really big play for us. So guys, these are different types of things that you can do to go ahead and make your defense a little bit more stout. Obviously, use that middle linebacker, use that safety. You can use the run commit features if you haven't anticipate which direction you're going to go. Understand the run fits. Those deep blues and those dark blues, they're not necessarily going to play run fits unless they're quarters. Understanding stacking principles that actually will give you better run fits and actually make it difficult for the defensive line. You can also utilize that option feature, the option running back feature. They'll do that, and then finally, just basically going ahead and utilizing the manning up defenders and actually put them in run fits opposed to just leaving them in the stock coverages. So to my subscribers, once again, thank you for your support, guys. If you like these type of tips, make sure you go ahead and hit the like button, and just let me know if you have any other strategies or techniques to go ahead and make your run defense a little bit more stout. To my subscribers, thank you for your support, and until next time.